I wanted to ask you, when you were talking before about who's on your growth team, this works well with sabbaticals. Sometimes it's hard for staff and a board to see the value that a pastor needs to get his health outside of the church. They're like, well, we're here for you, and we've given you vacation time, and we've given you a health package. How do you train or teach, particularly for, I think, pastors in smaller churches where a sabbatical seems impossible, because if you leave, somebody could take over the church or everything shuts down or whatever. How do you train leaders to understand,
get your board to help you?
Yeah, the value of a healthy pastor makes a healthy church, and it doesn't happen while he's at work.
Yeah, and I think the problem is that in a lot of other people's perspective or professions, they don't get a sabbatical. They don't get to take off like that. They don't get paid to say, hey, go rest. So to them, they're thinking, why would you need it? I got what I got. You do, like this. I think what I would first of all say is I don't think my board would have bought into it as much if I wouldn't have had Dr. Chan be an advocate to tell them. Mm-hmm. So I think sometimes they need to hear somebody who's an advocate to that board or to that church that's teaching them. And I don't know that I can be an advocate for myself in that.
Right.
Well, I can try, but it's harder. The second thing is, I think the story that always I talk about it is when I CrossFit, because even though Hot Works, I CrossFit too. So on CrossFit, I remember one day going, and the guys I CrossFit with, they're all the guys who own the place, and the guys who are the best guys with him. So it's kind of like his private workout time, and I'm his pastor, so he lets me in on his deal with the coach. Well, they always kill me. I'm the worst. I always got to scale it, But on this day, we're out running on this deal, and I'm staying up with everybody. And I'm doing just as well as everybody else. I'm going, God, I'm killing it today. My gosh. And when we get in, I go, hey, they're all going, hey, Pastor, good job today. You did great. Da, da, da. And when we're walking out, I'm thinking I did really great. And then I look back, and they're all taking their jackets off because it was cold, and they all have 40-pound weight vests on. So here's the thing. People, volunteers, staff, everybody can think, well, I work just as hard as you. I go just as hard as you. I work as many hours. I do all that. What they don't realize is that, they're doing everything you're doing in that same way, but you're carrying a spiritual and emotional weight of that church. Paul talks about it. Paul says, hey, I was shipwrecked. I was beaten. Yeah. I had all this. But on top of that, I carry all the weight of the churches. I carry the load.
Yeah.
And there is an emotional, spiritual carrying of weight that is just different than anything else. So I think for people to recognize that and understand, hey, you let me go a time here. And I'm not talking about, listen, when your car is out of gas, okay? Everybody can relate to that, because no matter what, there's going to be a time you're on empty. When you're on empty, you can't say, man, I've run out of gas. Let's just keep that car in the driveway so we can fill it up.
Right.
Doesn't make sense. Everybody knows you got to go to a gas station and put fuel in it. But yet many of us think that resting is the absence of work. It isn't. You have to have ways to refuel. So if you don't, in the first 2 years I did sabbatical, I got out and I was more tired, more depressed, more frustrated. And I talked to my counselor, and he said, how did you do it? I said, I just slept as long as I want, ate what I want, went when I want. I watched the movie, went and played golf. He said, wow, sounds like it was pretty random. I said, I just did whatever I felt. He said, you don't do anything else in your life that way. Your whole work schedule is boxed. You know exactly what you're trying to achieve. You have a goal, and you build your whole schedule around doing that. And it's boxed. He said, it seems like you care more about being strategic with your work than being strategic with your rest. If you got in your mind, what is the goal for my sabbatical? What do I need to hear from God? What do I need to do? Who do I need to meet with? What do I need to read? What do I need to consume, fuel, to fill my tank up in order that after this time, I'm going to be full? And that's when it started changing for me, that I understood rest isn't the absence of work. It's when you schedule in such a way to fill your tank.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Wow. You know, Pastor Scott, because you have such a tight time frame, you got to promise us you'll come back one time and talk.
Absolutely.
We could talk just about sabbatical of like what I know you have whole lessons on how to take a sabbatical and make sure you actually come back restored, not just rested. And I'd love to talk more about
Let's
that.
do it.
Yeah. And before we go, you know, Ready, Set, Grow and 415 is all about becoming the growth team that every single pastor needs.